What is good, rookies? Welcome to our AAMI series review of games 3 and 4, where we had the Hawks come up against the Bulldogs and the Crows against the Lions. I'm not going to dilly-dally. Probably all watched it. We've probably all been checking the stats because I know that we're all fanatics about trying to get the right picks in, find out who's got the good roles, and so on. I'm going to get into the Bulldogs first just because we had some standouts there. And Hawthorn, I'm just disappointed in more than anything. The standouts for Bulldogs, the one and only Davidson, came out, just guns blaring, made himself be a lock for pretty much all teams. I feel like you have to start Davidson. Showed his scoring capability. He did go quiet in the second half, but then had some really influential impact in some plays to move up the field through the wing, half forward. Just overall, he's got the capability to score well. We've seen that. The role looks there and looks like he's going to get time on ground to actually take advantage of that, because he did end up scoring an 81. Again, at a rookie at his price, you can't ask for anything more. Nice cash cow. The only factor to consider here, and the only thing to factor at all with the Western Bulldogs, who was out? No Trelaw, no Richards. Bont barely played. I think he played like 8 minutes and then had some calf tightness, so sat out just as a precaution. He did make comments that he'll be all good from round 1. So I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. I'm still umming and ahhing on whether I start Bont just because of the hefty price, and there's a lot of value to be had. So I might be really scared about fading Bont because it is scary, but there is just so much value that can be had, and I feel like it's something different to what I did last year. Last year I was very much safe picks, and not even safe picks worked. So why not mix it up, go for value, see how it plays out. But Davidson, I think, can be an easy lock for an F5 or F6 or a flex. I think because of his scoring capability, and if the role is there and we see similar time on ground, don't have him on your bench. Wasted points. He's going to be able to provide you nice points on field while also being a cash cow. So if you don't have room in F5, F6, he might replace Hewitt. I'm not 100% confident on Hewitt. Did some light training this week. Just keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I think it's a lock for an F6 at a minimum. If not, put him at the flex, please. Sanders, also when I'm watching, he's currently in my team. I don't know if I saw enough, just considering he was out. Again, no Bont, no Trelaw, no Richards, which means Sanders is getting a lot of mid-time. That's not going to be consistent once all these players start feeding back into the team, especially between Bont and Richards, because they're going to be your main two. Riley Sanders is just going to fall off from that. So given that he had pretty much the midfield to himself in regards to the role, I mean, he did have Libba with him, who stole the show, don't get me wrong. But even with just Libba there, we're not talking Bont, we're not talking Richards. He was only to push out an 80. Question marks for me, question marks. English, did enough. I am potentially looking at him for my R2. As mentioned in the last video, I've got Nate the Tank as R1. I'm very confident with him. I don't really feel like paying up for Gawn or Sherry, considering his fixture to start the season. I feel like I can get Nate to him or make some trades elsewhere to potentially even move Nate to flex or English to flex or whoever's in R2, basically. We'll see. English looked okay. He looked okay. We had Cleary as well come out, which was really good. Showed he's got a lot of potential. Freya, I actually don't believe this is consistent or reasonable because there's no Dale. A lot of people are going to hop on. Be very cautious that when you do and Dale comes back, which he might miss round 1, just as a warning. When Dale eventually does come back, I expect that to be from Freya's scoring potential, because Freya's basically taking Dale's role. Darcy is just proving that he is going to be the man at Western Bulldogs. They're just going to look for him all the time. He can do everything. And whether you want to pick him or not, possibly. He's given us all reasons to. I personally haven't looked into it because I'm not even considering it, just given the other options at the moment in the forward line. But if you've got the cash and you're trying to be flexible, Darcy's putting his hand up. Again, Libba, really, really good, but he cops one head knock. His career is potentially done because that is where he's at with his concussion protocols. I don't think it'd be advisable, and I think he would probably retire early. So while he is good, I'm reluctant for that purpose. The unfortunate parts for this in regards to the Dogs is probably just Bond got 8 minutes. We saw enough from everyone else. The people that I wanted to watch were out anyway, but good to see that we've got a lock in for a rookie at least. But Bont will be good for round 1. I have no doubts about that. This is all just precautionary. Moving into the disappointing Hawks. Sicily, he got moved forward within the first quarter, and especially towards the end to try and help kind of capture that win and have a bit more of an influence down the forward line. That's put me off the pick completely. If he had that defensive halfback floating role where he could just do whatever he wanted, it'd be a lock, but it's not that role by the looks of it. From everything that I've seen in the practice matches and now in the AAMI series, I don't think that's the role he's got. I think he is floating between halfback and forward and is just going where he needs to go because he is that influential of a player. He's that good that he can influence in the back line and in the forward line. But it just means that the scoring probably won't be as consistent depending on where he spends most of the time of the game because he did have 94% time on ground. It was just split, between being in the back and floating forward. I don't think I can choose Sicily. If you guys want to take the risk on it, by all means, go for it. But I'm not on it. I'm not sold. Warple did well. Battle proved he's not his place there. Meek did enough as well. Meek has a really nice fixture after his bye. So if you've got maybe like a TDK where you're trying to get all the value and then potentially move him to Meek once you've made some cash, that might be a play because Pitnet will probably come back by then. I'm toying with that idea as well, just because of the nice fixture. But I think if you were wanting Meek in your team, I think he did enough. So that's good. He only had 60% time on ground as well and still pushed out a 90. So I think they gave, Ramsden some time on ground, gave him some ruck experience as well. Again, practice match, I don't think that's going to happen that much when it comes to the proper season. So I think we definitely saw enough of Meek to be quite happy with that pick if you were looking at him. Weddle has actually put his name up as well to be looked at as a bit of a pot option. Newcomb and Day, disappointing. I wasn't really watching Newcomb, but there were conversations that it could be you choose Newcomb or you choose Day. We all had high expectations for Day. We thought he was going to get more of that mid-roll and just dominate. And we just didn't see any of the above from what we wanted from Day. So this is really disappointing. I actually had him on my team. I thought he was an absolute lock. Again, this is probably just the overreaction. And now this is probably the correct overreaction to drop him from the team. But again, we'll find out more in opening round for at least the Hawks. We'll see what happens. But I'm currently put off the Day pick. Outside of that, there was nothing really Supercoach relevant outside of those main players. Hassaway didn't get a run. He was an emergency. So if you're looking at him for a rookie, move on. He's not best 22. It's just going to be a loop option. And that's literally all I've got from that game. To jump into Brisbane and Adelaide, this was the much better game, which showed a bit more Supercoach relevancy in regards to like roles, potential best 22, sub-risk, all that fun stuff. I'm going to start with Adelaide. Now, Jay Dawson. Mr. Dawson. He's done enough. I'm pretty confident in Dawson, even though he did kind of burn me last season. He's a lock in my midfield. For 550, I think there's value to be had with Dawson. I don't know if it's because of that rotating midfield that Adelaide currently has, where I feel like Dawson and unfortunately Crouch are going to be your main men that are going to sit there. Now, a lot of people are going to say Crouch is just cutting into all the Supercoach scoring potential of the other mids, and that's pretty factual. But I think Dawson's just going to be a class above because it doesn't matter where you put him. He's going to score Supercoach wise, and he's just going to have a heavy influence. Hinge could be a potential pod pick to look at for a defensive player if you were struggling. Nankervis actually had a really good game too. Rankin, you would be very, very happy with this. He got some really good rotations in the mid. I don't think he was out here really trying hard because it was his practice match. Even given that to score a 90, I think if you had him in your team or you were looking to get him in, I think you saw enough to be pretty confident in that pick. Now, if you're juggling on if you should go Rankin or the Horny Man, I still lean towards the Horny Man because of the bye. You got no Butters as well, given the current knee dilemma. So there is potential that Horny Man just gets the ability to go even higher in regards to his ceiling. So keep that in mind as well. You can always chase Rankin and trade him in. So he's probably going to be the first, in regards to the forward line, the first target that most people will go for. Laird and Saligo did pretty well as well. I thought Saligo I expected a bit more. I've been hearing really good things in the internets about that this could be a potential pod. If you were looking at him, I don't think you saw enough, but if you have full trust in him, I think you kind of like that because he might remain a pod. Heatling is really my only issue from this team. I'll get into him last. We'll go to Draper. He's an absolute gun. He has the scoring ability that we want from a rookie. Only issue is because of that rotating midfield, he is a very likely sub risk. He came on as the sub in a practice match, which I think tells you everything. He might have made a case for himself to be best 22, which I think he has. He only had 39% time on ground and scored a 60 basically, which is solid. So I think with that in mind, again, scoring potential's there, but at the end of the day, if he's a sub risk, the score is going to be affected by that. So we can't confidently pick him. I wouldn't confidently pick him as a rookie. Curtin as well. Don't touch. Do not touch. Stay away. But Peatling. Peatling's a really tricky one because he is at a really attractive price. But I do believe the value that he's going to give you is capped. He did spend more time half forward and not in the midfield. When he was in the midfield, he was an absolute fucking gun. He showed all the reasons why we want him to be locked into our teams. But then he goes quiet. He'll be really active and just generate a lot of scoring, Supercoach wise, and then just disappear. Just gone. It's because of that role change of that rotating midfield for that price. I'd rather go spend it on Levi Ashcroft. He scored a little bit better than Peatling. And he's younger and he looks like he's got the role that we want. So, yeah. Peatling, if you want to keep a rookie off field, I still think he's a great pick. Just understand that his value is capped. His scoring is capped. And it doesn't look like you're going to get any hundreds or high 90s at the moment. My opinion, but we're going to leave it there. The more exciting side is Brisbane. Zorko is just doing piggy things. If you can work him into your team and account for the bye, it makes sense to start with him. He's got a decent fixture to start with. Just do it. I'm currently trying to figure out a way I can do it with Perryman because of the bye structure. We'll see what happens. Neil, class act, just doing Neil things. Berry actually played quite well. I'm not sure if he's had a role change because he predominantly, from memory, is more of the tagger from Brisbane. Not sure if that role has changed for him or where he's kind of slotting into the Brisbane team now, but he looked really good. He looked really, really good. The Ashcroft brothers. Now, younger bro, I will happily say he's a lock. 66% time on ground, 80 Supercoach points, heavily involved, smart with the ball, doesn't look like that shoulder's impaired him at all. He is good to go, and I don't believe he's a sub risk at all. I could be very wrong. He still could get subbed. But for the rookie selection that we have, now that we don't have Smith, I think Ashcroft is it. I still want to see Langford from Melbourne, but I think Ashcroft, you just have to get into your team. Older bro at the more awkward price for a 93. I'm not sold. Still could be good, but I think it's very much like a Peatling situation where it's going to be capped. The value is not going to be as good as we might have hoped. But again, I still think if you're just looking to get a little bit of value out of some players and then flip them, I don't think you can go wrong with older Ashcroft at all. Dunkley quiet, not really worried about that. The only one to consider for the rest of the team here is Gallup. Gallup was a cheap rookie we were looking at. Doesn't look like it's an option. He had 52% time on ground, which is crazy. And scored 24 points. It's not there. It's really not there. So, look, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for all the support of late. Again, it's been amazing getting involved more in the community, having new subscribers come in. So I appreciate all the love. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on X for all the updates. Again, notes on games. Usually I do very basic notes to give you the general idea of where the game's heading, Supercoach wise, for players that are on most people's watch list. Again, deep analysis wise, come to DFS. Look at Woodsy on X, who actually works for Champion Data. There are many accounts that give you more in-depth analysis of the games as they play out. I am more just giving you the brief. Very much just to the point, hey, he did well, he didn't do well. Avoid him, or you need to go watch him and decide for yourself. Peatling's one of those plays where I'm put off the pick, but I recommend if you are umming and ahhing, just go check the stats and potentially watch a replay to see the role. Literally all I can say at the moment. But with that said, guys, I will be doing a review of the rest of the games. Again, very similar fashion. Might be the games 5 and 6, or I might just do one big longer video to review just the key highlights from the remaining games of the AAMI Community Series. Also, some cool things that I will be announcing over the next few days in regards to some live streams, some collaborations with other content creators in the space. Just really excited to share that with you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.